Welcome back to our second video in the Ultimate Stress Relief Video Workshop Series. This is Dan Brooks, founder of GiveUpPain.com. In this video you're going to learn how stress affects each living cell in our body and creates a cellular memory that affects our health on a daily basis. Now I hope you found results with our last video. I know it's a little unusual to give people a technique right up front and then ask them to return for the explanation of why it works so well and how they can find even greater benefit by using our technique on a deeper level. The purpose of the first video was to teach you how to use EFT for the symptom relief of stress. In other words, it is a great substitute for taking drugs or finding time to meditate to relieve stress or many of the other modalities that are out there right now. In the beginning, I used this technique to do just that, to clear that, to use it just for symptom relief. And then I discovered it could be used to clear the root causes of my fears and stress, and this is where the real magic began to happen. So let me share with you a little about myself and how I developed my post-traumatic stress disorder. My experience with chronic stress began with many emotional traumatic events in my early years, and then later in life it was a failed business, losing our life savings, nearly our home, bad incident after bad incident, my work as an EMT paramedic. And I had most of the symptoms I told you about in video 1. And a few more besides, the sleepless nights, the worry, the pain that I was in, and the images running through my mind that haunted me and made me question my own self-worth and values. I did recognize what was happening in my life, but when I asked for help, I was told, suck it up, princess, or get over it. And I don't know if you've ever heard that one before, but to me it was maddening. There was no help when I asked, so I resigned my EMT position. I took a hiatus from the fire service, and like so many who suffer from chronic stress, I was considered burned out and I fell off the radar. The images and self-doubt emotions playing over and over again in my mind would cause me to go into deep bouts of depression, like for days. My body had become filled with arthritis to the point where I could barely climb a flight of stairs because my knee pain was so bad. I could no longer close my hands into a fist or hold on to tools. I had tremors so bad. My back was S-shaped and I was constantly visiting the chiropractor, which only provided temporary relief. Then add weight gain, acid reflux, swollen hands and feet. The list was just growing of all the things that, my health was going downhill rapidly. And so, like many people that are suffering from chronic stress, I tried to solve my problems with alcohol and, just being mad at God and the world. And I'm sure I don't have to tell you, that did not help my relationship with my wife and children. I was on a crash and burn road to nowhere. Now, you may relate to some of this in your life. So where was the help? How could I resolve this before I lost everything? There were no solutions in conventional medicine. Other than drugs and therapies, which really don't work. Now, I don't believe we have stress because our bodies lack Prozac, and I don't believe we're in pain because our bodies lack Percocets, and I don't believe we have heart disease today because we need aspirin in our daily diet. There is something missing from conventional medicine that is just not addressing the rising amounts of these conditions in our society. Even as a child, I've always been one of those people that has to know why something acts the way it does. And what I found was the key to resolving stress is through understanding the emotional aspects which are the cause. Now, by resolving those aspects, stress and pain go away as the body finds relief and begins to heal itself. You see, I do not believe in miracle cures, only the miracle of our ability to cure ourselves. I want to say that one more time to you. I do not believe in miracle cures, only the miracle of our ability to cure ourselves. Stress affects our body in this manner, and I mean any emotional event creates stress in the body. It does not go away with the passing of the event. It is cumulative and just keeps building. The older you get, the more emotional events you have, the more you have to brood over them, and the more stress and more symptoms you create. To the cellular body, there is absolutely no difference between a real event or an imagined or perceived one. The result is exactly the same. the cellular body goes into what is called a fight or flight mode. Chemicals and hormones like cortisol and norepinephrine are produced in the body, which changes the chemistry and physical harmony of the body. In a stressful situation, whether it's real, imagined, or relived, the body reacts by increasing blood sugar levels, heart rate, blood pressure. Your digestive system changes and no longer processes food properly, which would explain weight gain in most people, or stomach conditions where there may be rapid weight loss in others. Blood is shunted away from the body's extremities and into the large muscle groups. Circulatory problems, swelling, and pain in the hands and feet become the chronic conditions of prolonged stress. The resources and energy used by the body's autoimmune system are changed, which is basically shutting down your immune system and increasing inflammation. Now, science has shown people in stressful situations develop more colds and flu-like symptoms. Diabetes and allergies surface in some people. The frontal cortex of the brain, which is where your reasoning capability comes from, is actually diminished. Now, I don't know if you've ever got into a heated discussion with someone and then afterwards thought of all the things you could have said, or, you may have said something in a heated discussion you wished you hadn't have said. You could think clearly. You just could not think clearly. In the stress of that moment, your brain was actually dumbing you down. And what do? You beat yourself up mentally. You kind of say, boy, am I ever stupid, or, oh, I should have thought of this and I should have thought of that. So you beat yourself up that there's something mentally wrong with you, and this in turn creates even more stress. You see how we keep building on these emotional events. But scientific study after scientific study have proven these chemicals and hormonal reactions in case after case. Many doctors and scientists are now saying that chronic stress is responsible for nearly 90% of all autoimmune diseases and illnesses. And I just find that amazing. If we could teach people how to relieve stress, we could actually make the country healthier. If we could teach stress relief techniques in our schools, we could improve grade point averages and prevent many adult illnesses that arise from stress later in life. Stress can cause the body's temperature at the fingertips to drop by as much as 5 degrees in under a minute. Just the mere mention of a word can cause stress in some people. For example, the word father may hold a different meaning for you than what it does for me. To me, father meant someone who was loving and caring, a hard worker and stubborn. And to others, it may remind them of a traumatic childhood where their father was, a little less than honorable. Now, in experiments with participants in our workshops, we've actually connected a digital thermometer to a person's fingertip and then just mentioned one of those trigger words and watched their body temperature drop in tenths of a degree almost instantly. Words, thoughts, emotions, feelings, all these things affect us on a cellular level every minute of the day. Where we focus our attention in our mind can determine how good or how bad we feel. All because of the stress we create in our body. By reliving these events over and over again, oftentimes these images and thoughts have become so much a part of the background in our minds, we do not even recognize them anymore. And trust me when I tell you, they are affecting every decision you make and every event you experience. So, you may think the remedy would be, let's try brainwashing. Let's just get rid of all those memories. But this is not the case. We have discovered a technique that actually separates the emotion from the mental imagery of the past, and in that detachment the body finds relief. In that letting go of resistance, and the body begins to heal itself. So, looking at the emotional events ends up having no more effect than if you were watching it on TV or if it happened to somebody else. This was a very liberating process for me, as the imagery of some of the incidents that I had witnessed as a paramedic were kind of locked together with the emotions of questioning my treatments, which I had built around them. And when one of those memories would get turned on by my attention to it, I would start shaking and feeling depressed. Today, after using EFT, I can look at the images in my memory and I have no emotional connection to them anymore. You know, in our culture today, over 70 million people in North America have been diagnosed with chronic stress. The treatment by conventional medicine is drugs and therapy with little or no resolution and little relief. Every veteran that returns from a war zone experiences some degree of post-traumatic stress disorder, as does a lot of people in the emergency services industry. You know, it is the images our mind creates, replaying over and over and over, that creates this stress in the body. And those people always develop more chronic physical conditions and ailments as time goes by. You see, we're not designed to witness an emotionally traumatic event and not